I lost her. I don't know how. I don't know when.
It's like I'm going backwards.
Like your memories are out of order. Maybe even false memories.
He has no idea what you've gotten him into.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
It is going great. Robert and Brian, right?
Yeah. I'm Brian. He's Robert.
Yes. He looks familiar. He's the guy he's the guy confused trying to solve his own crime mystery.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, good morning from Las Vegas. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely.
for
Thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure.
You
like my background?
like your backdrop there. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that guy right here is like kind of freaking me out, but well, let's talk about last 3 days. Jack is a police officer with a marriage on the rocks and working undercover to take down the Yakuza, Japanese crime syndicate. One morning he wakes up missing his partner, missing his wife in the last 3 days of his life. So Robert, where does Jack begin?
It's a little bit of it'll scramble your brain, that's for sure. I think that's what's so cool about the story, though. I mean, as Jack's trying to figure out where he is within this 3-day time period, the audience is trying to figure it out with him. So he has to retrace his steps, and then he keeps waking up on different days and different times, and he's missing his wife, and then he's trying to figure out what's going on with his other, his cop partner, Dave. So there's a lot on Jack's plate in this movie. It's, I feel for him. It's a tough journey he has to go through.
And Brian, you really take the time to tell Jack's backstory, especially with his wife and his relationship and his wedding, because it's crucial to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we knew that we wanted to do an action movie, but it's smaller scale. We, can't compete with John Wick or the Avengers. And so we thought the best way to do that is to just really invest time in the characters so that you really care about them. Because, it's like if you take characters you care about and put them in, intense situations, even if it's just, a few guys with guns fighting each other, you care so much more than you would if there was someone you didn't even know in a shootout with 50 people. And so we knew that in order to get that intensity that we want, in order to really have the action sell and pull people in, it's invest in the characters and get you to care about them.
And, Jack is, Robert, Jack is dedicated more to his job and his new found detectives than his marriage.
Yeah, I mean that's his biggest struggle. You see in the story, his marriage is having some issues because his job is so demanding. And then not only is his job demanding, but my wife's is in the hospital all the time. So she's busy with her career as well. So we're losing our connection, as a newly married couple, and we're losing that kind of that spark, I guess you could say. But that's his biggest balance, is trying to figure out how to navigate. How does he stay committed to being an undercover cop and also be a committed husband?
He's a dedicated cop too, but Dave's a loose cannon. He's trying to bring him down the road. I'm telling you guys, like in the first 30 seconds, I'm like, that's Thomas Wilson Brown. Augie and Silverado, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I was just like, no way. It was easy to get him for this movie.
Well, I've known him for a few years. He is a friend of a friend, and we've hung out a couple times. And when I wrote the script, I was like, oh man, he'd be so great in this role. So I just sent him the script. I'm like, what do you think? And, he'd read some of my stuff, but we hadn't worked together before. We just hung out. But when he read the script, he texted me. He's like, oh, yeah. I said, would you play Dave? And he texted me back. He's like, to hell and back, I'd play Dave.
And Robert, what's it like to have your head slammed in a car door? Because that looked any mistakes that day?
It hurts, man. No, there were no mistakes, thank God. Well, we did dent the car a little bit. There's part of that fight scene where I get thrown up against the.
I was going to say, you really didn't shoot up that Camaro. Come on, that's movie magic, right?
Yeah, but the Camaro did get a little dented in the side, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We had to commit. the fight is obviously choreographed and we've got it all planned out, but once you start doing it, you kind of just got to go for it. But yeah, luckily my head was not actually slammed in the car door, because that would have been
Movie
pretty
magic.
painful.
Yeah, movie. And you know, Brian, the last 3 days, it's really an LA story, isn't it?
Yeah, no, my wife and I, she grew up in Southern California, more or less. She moved back and forth between here and like Russia. But we've spent the last 10 years here in LA, and, you know, on a smaller kind of scale film, locations is a huge expense. So we use locations that we knew, places we'd hung out, places we knew the owners. And we really wrote it around the locations. And, you know, so we've known each other 11 years. And so it's a lot of the locations and places that we've been and we know. And that's what we started with. And we started with the script. We're like, let's start with locations and list out where can we film this thing.
Well, very stylish, great crime thriller. And lastly, Brian, what's your obsession with It's a Wonderful Life? You even named the hospital George Bailey Memorial.
You know, so in a lot of ways, I love that movie. It's a great film. And in a lot of ways, Last 3 Days is kind of the modern crime thriller version of It's a Wonderful Life. And It's a Wonderful Life, he gets a chance to see what life would have been like if he was never born. In Last 3 Days, you know, Jack gets to see some things that, you know, he essentially gets to see, all right, here's the decisions I could have made, and these are the outcomes that could have happened from these decisions. And, you know, we talked about It's a Wonderful Life, and we were like, what would happen if George Bailey was a cop today, and also he got drugged?
That was a much deeper answer than I was expecting. I was like, now it totally makes sense. So thank you so much for both of you for joining me today. Congratulations on a great thriller, and come visit us in Las Vegas soon. We'd love to have you.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Appreciate it, man.